Accident under the sea. The pressure of the water weighed heavily. A strange humming echoed from all directions. I could only hear the pounding of my own heart inside my chest, blending with the hurried breaths through the diving mask. Then, a sharp crack resounded behind me. I turned around and was horrified to realize my oxygen tank had cracked. Daniel, 34 years old, a professional diver, worked for a marine survey company. He had hundreds of diving hours, familiar with the deep darkness and the deadly silence of the ocean. But today, everything was not like usual. It was a cloudy morning offshore. The survey ship swayed among white-capped waves. Daniel put on the thick diving suit, checked every joint, every oxygen tube before jumping down. His colleague even patted him on the shoulder. "Be safe down there. We just need a few pictures of the wreck." Daniel nodded, smiled, not knowing that this dive would change his whole life. At a depth of nearly 40 meters, sunlight almost disappeared. Only the gloomy deep blue remained, and the flashlight mounted on the helmet cast dim beams of light. The seabed was silent to the point of coldness. Around him, seaweed swayed like invisible arms. Daniel swam slowly, eyes fixed on the massive block of steel appearing in front of him. The wreck of an old cargo ship, half buried under the sand. Rusted iron pieces, holes as big as wounds. He reached out to touch the peeling paint, feeling the decay of time. Suddenly, a shiver ran down his spine. Icy cold seeped through the wetsuit. The deeper he swam, the more he heard the vague creaking from the ship's body, as if it was still breathing. Then it happened. A dry crack resounded. Daniel startled and looked back. The main air tube from the oxygen tank had cracked. White bubbles gushed out violently, uncontrollably. He panicked. Every breath now was hurried, the air in his lungs gradually running out. His vision blurred because of the bubbles. Surrounding him, his chest ached as if squeezed tight. "No, impossible," he screamed inside, but only heard sobs swallowed by the water. Daniel tried to swim back up, but the distance to the surface was too far. The decayed ship shook. A massive piece of metal suddenly collapsed, pressing across his back, pinning him down into the cold sand. The flashlight fell, swaying, casting flickering beams. Darkness rushed in. He struggled to take one last breath. But the tank only let out a dry hiss. His vision blurred, his chest tore in pain. His whole body trembled. And in that very moment, a strange glow flickered ahead, in the darkness of the deep sea. A glow that did not belong here. The soul leaves the body under the ocean. The freezing seawater surrounded me, like thousands of needles piercing and tightening around my body. Muscles stiffened, lungs about to explode. I struggled in despair, but the rusted steel plate on my back did not move at all. Then, all sensation suddenly went silent. The pain disappeared. My chest no longer twisted. My ears no longer heard the humming of the water pressure. Only an unusual stillness remained. I was shocked to realize I was no longer inside my body. Right before my eyes, I saw myself, the heavy body in the diving suit, lying motionless under the sand of the sea, pinned by the rusty piece of steel. Tiny bubbles still escaped from the broken oxygen tube, mixed in the murky water. The flashlight on the seabed cast a faint light, illuminating my face through the mask pale, eyes closed tightly. I was stunned. Impossible. Is that me? Am I dead? I reached out to touch that body, but my transparent hand only slipped through like mist. No sensation at all. Meanwhile, from afar resounded the dull explosions of ocean waves crashing into the wreck. All sounds faded, drifting, as if echoing from another world. The air around me seemed to glow. Sparkling water particles moved slowly, shimmering like a galaxy at the bottom of the sea. A voice resounded somewhere inside my head, not clearly male or female, just a gentle echo. "Don't be afraid, Daniel. It is not the end." I startled, darted my eyes around. No one was there. Only the golden white light was growing, spreading in the darkness of the deep sea. My heart pounded rapidly. I stepped back, then realized I no longer felt heavy. I floated freely, light as if the water no longer had any pressure. Below, through the flickering flashlight, I saw a painful scene. My colleague Mark was diving down, trying to pull the steel bar to rescue me. His mouth shouted inside the mask, "Daniel, hold on, don't give up." I saw it all, heard, and his blurred voice through the water. But I was no longer there. I could only drift silently above, watching my friend exhausting himself to save a lifeless body. My throat choked. I wanted to scream, "Mark, I'm here!" But no, sound escaped. Then that light grew even brighter, covering everything. It called to me, warm, gentle like my mother's embrace. In the loneliness and cold darkness of the ocean, that light seemed like the only path leading me out of despair. I was confused, torn inside. If I follow this light, does it mean I will leave everything behind? Leave Mark? Leave my wife and children? The light answered me, not with words, but with a feeling of certainty. That ahead was the truth, what I needed to see. I hesitated, then let myself slowly drift toward that light. Stepping into the world of light. That light was unlike any light I had ever seen in my life. It did not dazzle my eyes, did not make me uncomfortable, but instead was gentle, as if caressing the skin, warming deep within my chest. I no longer heard the humming of the water, no longer felt the heavy body squeezed by the pressure of the deep sea. Everything seemed to dissolve. I realized I was drifting in an endless space, no longer the ocean. Around me, the gloomy blue gradually faded, giving way to a golden white light, shimmering like millions of tiny flames dancing. They surrounded me, spinning, guiding the way. Where is this? Am I truly dead? I asked myself in astonishment. Then, suddenly, I heard the sound of a piano. Faint, distant, but heartbreakingly familiar. That piece of music I remembered at once was the melody my father used to play every rainy afternoon. My heart suddenly ached. Father? Right after that, the figure of a man appeared from the light. Tall and thin, graying hair, a kind face. His eyes were warm, and that smile I had not seen for 10 years, since the day he died of heart disease. "Father!" I burst out, my voice breaking with emotion. He opened his arms wide, and I rushed in, hugging him tightly. But strangely, we were no longer heavy bodies. Everything was weightless, transparent, but that embrace was still full of truth. I could feel the love, the warmth, and the endless comfort. "My son." My father's voice resounded, both familiar and strange. It did not come from his mouth, but seemed from the very depths of my mind. "I know you have endured much, but don't be afraid. It is not the end, but only the beginning." Tears rolled down my face. "Father, I still have a wife, a little son. I am not ready to leave them. I cannot." My father gently placed his hand on my shoulder. That hand was not flesh and skin, but light, yet I clearly felt the firmness and gentleness. "I understand. Every soul has its own journey. But you need to see this." Immediately after, the light around me expanded. I felt as though I was standing in a wondrous space, an endless field, covered with ivory white flowers, shimmering in the soft golden sunlight. The sky was crystal clear. A gentle breeze drifted by carrying an indescribable sweet fragrance. Each petal trembled as if emitting its own light, and in the distance, I saw my loved ones who had passed away, my grandmother, who cared for me in my childhood, my cousin, who had left in a motorbike accident. They stood there, smiling, waving. Their smiles were not sorrowful, but contained infinite peace. "Daniel," my grandmother's voice resounded, gentle as ever. "We are always here, never leaving you." I burst into tears. All the emotions suppressed for so long poured out. I ran forward, collapsing in their arms. No more distance, no more separation, only pure love. But that joy was not complete. For in that very moment, the image of my wife Elena and my little son appeared in my mind. I saw Elena's face pale with worry, her eyes brimming with tears. I saw my son, only 6 years old, sitting by his desk, calling my name with no answer. My heart ached again. I whispered, "Father, I cannot stay. I need to return. Elena needs me. My son needs his father." My father was silent for a moment, then gently nodded. "I know. But before you return, you must understand. This life is fragile, Daniel. Do not waste it on fear, on meaningless things. Live, truly live, for the ones you love." His eyes shone brightly, piercing deep into my very soul. "And remember, wherever you go, I am always here, watching over you." The light around me began to change. The flower field faded. The beloved figures faded with it. I panicked, trying to cling to my father. "Father, I don't want to leave. I'm afraid. I'm not strong enough." He smiled gently, raising his hand, light of light, to softly touch my forehead. "You are stronger than you think. Now, return, Daniel." A warm surge of energy exploded within me. I was pulled backward, fast as the wind. Everything spun wildly. The light turned into a swirling tunnel, dragging me back into the darkness. And then, I heard the heart-wrenching call. "Daniel, hold on. Don't leave us." It was Mark's voice, echoing from the world I had just left. The struggle between life and death. I was pulled backward, rushing through the swirling tunnel of light. Everything spun, chaotic. In my ears, overlapping voices resounded, sometimes my father's gentle voice. "Live, Daniel." Other times, Mark's desperate cries, echoing from the Black Sea. "Daniel, can you hear me? Don't give up, brother." My heart ached, as if two opposing forces were stretching my soul apart. On one side was absolute serenity, the perfect love of my father and relatives in the light. On the other side was responsibility, the unfinished love for Elena and my little son. I saw two worlds overlapping. One side, the field of ivory flowers, the caressing wind, my father standing there, beckoning with kind eyes. One side, the cold black seabed, my body pinned tight, Mark struggling to lift the steel plate, his hands trembling from exhaustion. Both seemed to exist in the same fragile moment. "I don't know what to do," I cried out, my voice breaking in the endless void. At that very moment, an image flashed in my mind. My son, sitting at his desk, scribbling drawings. He drew a house, with a red roof, with Dad, with Mom, with himself standing between them. I heard his joyful laughter. "Daddy, look, I drew our family." Tears burst forth. My whole body trembled. I whispered, "No. I cannot let my son lose his father. I cannot leave Elena alone." The light before me suddenly dimmed, as if testing my resolve. My father still stood there, his face gentle, his smile full of love. He did not hold me back, only nodded slowly. "Go back. Your path is not finished." A surge of power exploded in my chest. I shouted into the void, "I want to live! I must go back!" At that very moment, I felt myself plummet straight into the abyss. No more gentle light, only thick darkness and a terrifying roar. My body was squeezed by 1,000 blades. Every muscle, every cell, felt like it was exploding. Then I slammed back, hard. My eyes opened slightly. A murky blackness, flickering dots of light. Mark's flashlight. White foam. My chest burned in agony. as if torn apart. I inhaled, but instead of air, seawater flooded in. Panic gripped me. I thrashed wildly. "Daniel, you're alive! Don't give up!" Mark shouted, his choked voice echoing through the mask. He yanked hard on the steel plate. This time, with one last effort, the metal shifted, enough for me to slip free. I gasped desperately, but my tank was destroyed. My throat burned raw, my vision blurred. Mark immediately gave me the spare oxygen regulator. I bit down, inhaled a deep breath. Air rushed into my lungs, stinging, scorching, but it was the breath of life. Together, we swam upward. The water's pressure crushed tight. My ears throbbed. My heart pounded wildly. The light of the surface above seemed so far away, but every stroke, every heartbeat was a battle. In that moment, I clearly heard my father's voice echo somewhere. Live fully, for them, and for yourself. Tears mingled with the salty water. I clenched my teeth, mustered every ounce of strength. And then, at last, a dazzling beam of light pierced down from the surface. Not the vague light anymore, but the true light of life. Return to life. A beam of white light tore through the darkness. I jolted awake, coughing violently, water gushing from my mouth and nose. My lungs burned, my body shivered uncontrollably. Machines beeped frantically, hurried footsteps echoed, voices shouted, "He still has a pulse. Quickly, prepare emergency care." The blinding hospital fluorescent lights stabbed into my eyes. I tried to open them. Everything was blurred, spinning. My whole body felt crushed, heavy, numb. I forced myself to move a finger and touched the warm hand tightly holding mine. Daniel. That voice, I could recognize it anywhere. Elena, my wife. Her face was soaked with tears, her eyes swollen, yet her trembling smile shone as I cracked my eyes open. I rasped, whispering each word. "You are here." Elena burst into tears, collapsing onto my chest. "You scared me to death. Never leave me again." On the other side of the bed, a small figure ran up. My son. He clutched my hand tightly, whispering, "Dad, are you coming back to me?" I was scared. "I thought you weren't coming back." I choked up, vision blurred with tears. With my weak hand, I stroked his soft hair. "Daddy's here now, Oliver. Daddy's not going anywhere. I promise." The boy broke down, hugging me, his tiny body trembling. My heart ached, but this time, it was the ache of happiness, of pure love I thought I had lost forever at the bottom of the ocean. Mark stood behind, his arm bandaged, face pale with exhaustion, yet he smiled with relief, eyes shining. "I told you, you're not the kind to abandon your brothers." I looked at him, nodding, my voice quivering. "Thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be here." Mark only shrugged, but I saw his eyes glisten. The days after, I lay in the hospital, body in pain, lungs severely damaged, but my heart reborn. At night, when Elena and Oliver had fallen asleep beside me, I stared at the white ceiling, remembering the strange light at the ocean's depths. I remembered my father's words, "Don't waste your life. Truly live, for those you love." Tears silently streamed down my cheeks. For the first time in my life, I deeply understood fragility and value. I whispered, like a prayer, "From now on, I will live differently. I will live fully. For Elena, for Oliver, and for myself." The day I left the hospital, the sky was strangely clear. Bright sunlight stretched across the road, the breeze brushed through my hair. I held Elena's hand, carried Oliver in my arms, listening to his bright laughter echo. I looked up at the sky, smiling softly. Deep inside, I knew my father was still watching, from that place of light. And I still had time, still had the chance to love, to live. The thing I thought I had lost in the deep sea had become a miracle. We only truly understand the value of life once we have brushed against death. What about you? In that moment, would you choose the serene light or return to the ones you love? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow for more stories that touch the very depths of the heart.